Welcome to the podcast with your favorite cash flow guys, Mike and Blaine. Giving you the best advice while having a beer. When you're running a business, there are problems every day. Let Mike and Blaine help you out and guide your way. Cheers to the good times with Mike and Blaine for business, beer, and BS.
Hey, it's episode 155 of Mike and Blaine. I am Mike Mylan, also known as Cashflow Mike. That is my friend, my partner, my confidant, the CEO and founder of Dry Run, Blaine Birch. What's up, man?
I think it's a good thing that on the recorded version that goes up online, we have this little intro with videos over the song, because I'm pretty sure we were both dancing around, completely mailing that one in. So if you're watching live, it'll like that'll be covered up. Do something a little better that are kind of half-ass whatever while the song's going.
Do you remember when we used to have just people spinning in the chair waiting for us to go live?
Oh, yeah. I think those guys are at the end when we have a little jingle at the end now. They spit, but yeah, for a while, it's just these guys spinning in office chairs. It was kind of funny, actually. I like that one.
There are so many nuggets in this thing. We're at 155. There are so many nuggets. Matter of fact, I've got to tell you, I had to point it out to a new fan. I didn't know, but they binged us, right? A couple binged
Nice.
us. This last week, and I'm like going, what? Did Netflix run out of movies or something? What the hell are you doing bitching us, right? So
Yeah.
but it was my daughter Brett, her man Cole, Addie and Kinley. So we got a little fan club up in Washington. They live on Brannan's Point and all that. So they've been
That's
bitching us.
awesome.
And I go, hey. Yeah, because she was like going, oh, man, there's just so many things I didn't know. It's like, and I would tell people, I said, these are just like stories that maybe I don't share with you because you're just my kid, right? But there's stuff that happened in my life or stuff that happens along the way. So I think it's pretty cool, right? I wish I had like recordings of my grandfather, my dad talking about, what life was like and work was like and those type of things. Because I wish I had that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's kind of a cool thing.
And it's recorded. We were over at my in-laws the other night, and there was a few stories my father-in-law shared about like way back when he was a teenager, actually. And I just, there's a few we hadn't heard before, and you're like, oh man, I kind of wish they had it recorded, because it's, because you go kind of going from memory, and they're just really interesting. They're really fun stories. So that's so we're recording. Well, there's little bits of useful stuff in between all the BS, but anyway, that's something there for you.
Yeah. So anyway, that was kind of a cool deal. And we got beer sponsors. If this is your first time, you're like going, what in the hell is going on? These people are not talking about anything yet. We don't know what the topic is. We don't know what they're doing. All right. This is Mike and Blaine, business, beer, and BS. And we got a little bit of BS right up front. But we usually talk about our beer sponsors. We talk about our merch, right? I mean, I got that new shirt. I don't know if you saw it. I don't think I wore it on this show yet. I wore it yesterday. I'm taking it to the SBDC National Conference. I'm speaking there next month, and there's a big tech conference, right? They're doing tech stuff, how to use tech as an advisor, as a small business advisor. And you and I, we have intern Chelsea. That's our intern. But the shirt that I got is AI does not equal sign ME. Yeah. So AI does not equal me. It doesn't have my gut. It doesn't have my instinct. It doesn't have my timing. It just has facts.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even facts. So AI still doesn't equal me. It can't do what I can do, which is put knowledge on the real world playing field.
Yeah, no, AI is there to help, but it's just a tool. And like we have stickers still around, Dry Run stickers somewhere, and buttons. We had little buttons. It said robots can't. And that was all it said, because same thing, like, man, they can do some cool stuff, but it's to equip and empower people to make better decisions and run their business a little bit more informed, with less time dedicated to digging through numbers and stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, we got merch. If you go to mikeandblade.com, you can get merch. Every single one of these beer sponsors that we're going to talk about has went and pushed the button that says buy us a beer. That's all they had to do. is go to mikeandblaine.com, press buy us a beer. It's $5 and we talk about you, right? $5.
Except for the exception of, I'm going to start it off with our top beer, or not our top beer sponsor, but the first one, top of the show here. I gotta thank Baltimore Mike, the other Mike Milan, because he was actually the one person that didn't go to our website and buy us beer. He literally mailed some to Mike and hand delivered to me when I was down in Scottsdale. So thanks again, Mike. That was that way above and beyond to get us some beer.
Well, think about that. I mean, that's not $5. That's a few hundreds of dollars that he spent just to deliver beer to both of us. I mean, he mailed it to me. Exactly. I got a box of beer in the mail.
Yeah. But what I appreciate was it was all from that region up near Baltimore, and it was all hand-picked, which is like, yeah, that's just awesome. That's just amazing. So that was, so yeah, our Baltimore Mike, we call him Baltimore Mike because he's also Mike Mellon. Thanks again, Mike. We really appreciate that. And I'm going to dive in and also thank Larry Weinstein, best CPA in Houston. Thanks again, Larry. Appreciate it as always.
Hey, I want you to start using his tagline though. He's got it pending trademark right now. The Cash Flow Cowboy.
Okay, the Cash Flow Cowboy. Okay, Larry, cowboy, I hope you bought yourself a big cowboy hat, 10-gallon hat.
Right. He even bought the URL for his website called the Cash Flow Ranch.
Nice.
Hey man, he's all. Hey, if you're going to do that, lean in. That's what I told him. That was my advice. I mean, hey, it took me a while. It took me a little while to get over the embarrassment of being called Cash Flow Mike, but now it fits. I mean, other people are like, oh, there's people that don't even know my real name. That's Cash Flow Mike. So, and you know what? I know I said everybody's pushed the button. Neighbor Pat didn't push the button. No, neighbor Pat walks it down the block to your house. I never get any of Pat's beer, but anyway, we still appreciate you, Pat. I appreciate you, even though you're just feeding Mike beer. Yeah. So they got neighbor Pat, and then you got Rachel Barnett again. If you want to know QuickBooks, she is the QuickBooks queen. She can teach anybody QuickBooks. She knows everything about QuickBooks. If you want to know more about it, contact Rachel Barnett over at General Frog because she is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Rachel. So what do you got? What are you drinking today? What's in the...
I got a brand new Neighbor Pat concoction. He walked it down yesterday. Nice. Yeah. So nice. Now I got to tell you something though. I'm starting just a second. You know how he brings me growlers, right? I'm starting to suspect quality control down at what's it called? Pat's Brewing Company, Neighbor Pat's Brewing, because every time he sends one, the label falls off. So quality control in the production facility is a little lax down there. So neighbor Pat. Oh, look, it sticks to the wet though. So there's the label, Neighbor Pat's Brewing. It is a mango. What is it? Did he misspell? He misspelled wheat. I thought it was meat for a second. Look at that. That's quality. Look at that. Mango wheat. I'm telling you, quality control slipping. Who knows what this is going to... Remember he gave me an Irish red or whatever. Or, no, it was a Blue Moon that was red.
or maybe it was mango meat. Maybe you get surprised with a little bit of meat in there and it was actually the upside down M.
All right, so I'm going to have the mango meat beer today from Neighbor Pat.
All right, beauty. All right, so I'm so this week I couldn't find anything that really connected much with our topic, which I'm surprised because it was fast and flawed is the topic, like and we'll dive into that. But usually I got something speed this or speed that. Nothing today. So what I did is I picked out this one called Shark Pool, because I figured if you want to see fast and flawed, it's when I jump into a shark pool and watch me swim. It'll be fast and flawed. And Shark Pool is from Bellwoods Brewing in Toronto, downtown Toronto. It's a cool little brewery. If you're in Toronto, go check them out. That's not where I got it, though. I actually got it from a place called Slow Pour in Edmonton, a little beer bar downtown Edmonton. I got to mention them again because it was terrific. They got a great beer menu, and I just want to promote those guys because they're a brand new addition to Edmonton. So if you're downtown, 122nd Street north of Stony Plain Road, great little spot.
Yeah, very cool. All right, so you kind of took my line there because I was going with the quality control right about fast and flawed, and this has been the week of fast and flawed. It really has.
Yep.
Meaning this, you did it. I did it twice. Neighbor Pat did it on his label. Because we're like going, oh, it's a little task. I can just fly this through. I can do something really quick, just knock it out. But think about it. There's 4 instances this week where we've rushed through it. And yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. Yeah, it can be embarrassing. To me, it costs time, right? Now I got to go back and fix something and then redo it. Like, for instance, believe it or not, this is how my Brett's thing came up, is that she saw a Facebook post. And I don't know if you saw it. I haven't released it yet. It's not published, but it's pre-ordered my 3rd book, right? Remember, I was trying to beat you because you said, I'm writing a book. I'm like going, oh, I got to beat Blaine to write a book.
Oh man. And it's in book writing hell right now. It's like in a hopper somewhere. I just don't have time. So eventually it'll come out.
Mine was just taunting me, just absolutely taunting me. And my problem was I told too many people I was doing it, so everybody was asking me about it, right? And if you want peer pressure, just tell people you're doing shit. and they will pressure you to get it done.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I know the feeling.
So it went on pre-order this week. But here's what happened. It got approved and submitted, and then but the Kindle version went right through. The print version went to, I guess, a different hopper. It made it through the first approval, and then it probably goes to somebody's eyes, right? Because I had some images in it. Well, they didn't approve the images, meaning I think there was probably some places where it wasn't super clear. And they didn't do that on the first 2 books because I got shitty images all the way through the books. That's why I had to build a whole web page of, hey, yeah, no, just go to this web page and download the image. This time they kick it back, and I had to recreate all those images today. So think about that, because I tried to dial it in. I had a professional flow chart done of this elevation sequence. It's a conversation flow chart.
Yeah.
And I tried to clip it out. I tried to crop out different parts and just put it through just the part that was talking about it, and then make a big picture of it at the end, which is the original flow chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you do that, sometimes it's a little blurry. It's a little bad. So I had to recreate every image by image today. And that's a pain in the ass. That's an absolute pain in the ass.
That is a pain in the ass. Coming from my side, because I'm a designer by trade, it doesn't even make it in the first round unless it's like impeccable and it's the right, DPI and all that. And now I'm curious because you're smacking your lips after tasting Pat's beer. Is it meat? Is it the meat?
No. Remember how I said the Irish Red was my favorite?
Yep.
This guy is dialing it up. I think he's brewing so much now. This is now my new favorite beer of Pat's, is the mango meat.
Nice. The mango meat. We got a new name for it, Pat. The mango meat.
So super good. I pleasantly surprised. Surprised is the word, because I didn't know what to expect. Super surprised. Super surprised. So
talking. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit of BS here. Talking about sort of poor quality images. As you're talking into your mic, you lean forward, and it reminds me of sometimes talking to my dad on his iPad, because your face is cut off, and I just see like this one eye. It's kind of like, hey.
So I do that. I'm also the guy that holds my phone. You're like this when I'm talking to it. I'm also that guy. So, I'm part of it. So I had to scoot it over. You know how that happens. So throughout the week, I move the microphone out of my way so I can see the screen.
Yeah.
And then, we get to this, and I had to move the microphone back. I'm just, there you go. I'm talking off camera. These are off camera events that are happening right now.
Yeah. Talking to Mike's ear. Yeah. For those of you listening, well, if you want to see our ugly mugs, just pop over to YouTube and you can check us out there, or you might be streaming it live on Facebook or LinkedIn right now. So, All right, let's dive into this topic because so what tell me a little bit about the Fast and Flawed because you said this week something happened.
All right, so
what happened?
yeah, well, I mean, the first thing was the book, right? The book is one of those things where I'm like going, oh, it's ready, I'm good, and I pushed it through.
Yep.
And I probably should have looked because it's 140 pages. It's not super long, but it's not a real short book either. It's like at a good length. You know, I feel like anymore if it gets over 150 pages, people don't buy it. They don't want to look at it. It's too much. So about 100 to 150 pages is kind of where I target. So it was 141 pages, but I didn't go through the previewer on Amazon and look at every single page to make sure that, you know, and that would have taken maybe an extra 10 minutes. Right? Yeah, maybe. And I probably would have caught that and not put out the link saying, "Hey, this is ready for pre-orders." You know, I probably wouldn't have done that, right? Which means that I've got a little egg on my face because now I just wanted to rush it through and just say, "It's gonna be good," and it gets kicked back. So that's the first thing. There was a second thing that I did this week as well, and it has to do with an enterprise package that I've sold, but we're reconfiguring it, right? They want to do something else. And it's little stuff like we added a whole section, and I'll just say it's a meeting agenda. I added a meeting agenda and I copied and pasted from another one, and I made a few corrections. And of course I missed two. I missed two places where it should have been, adjusted and corrected, and your client sees it before you do. Oh yeah, that's embarrassing, and that's where it's fast but flawed. Right? Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. You know, if I took the extra time, I wouldn't have had egg on my face twice this week, right? Yeah. And it made me think about what you were doing with our new thumbnails, right? If you go to MikeandBlaine.com, you go to anything. So I mean, how many times did you mess with the thumbnails this week?
Well, so I learned a few things, and I'm like, okay, I kind of honestly was making more work for myself because everyone else just uses a generic thumbnail for the show. And I had little titles, but I realized, hey, you can't really read the titles. I was looking. Okay, another good lesson here. I hadn't taken the time to look in context. So then I'm opening up the podcast apps and I'm looking in context. Okay, what does it look like if people search? What do they look? I'm like, oh shit, that's not right. That's not working. It's not right. So I thought, well, I need people to be able to probably read our name and kind of see it, right? Yeah. And so the idea was there, the philosophy, the strategy was there, but now I'm like, I just got to do this quick. So I slammed something together in 5 minutes, and then I put it up and I look at it and I'm like, that looks like ass. And so this morning I spent a little more time, made it. It looks a lot nicer because I spent the time. But you know what? I should have just taken the time right off the hop, done it right the first time. It would have saved me a little time in the end, So it looks pretty good now, and I got to do a bunch of updating. But the little rendition, there's probably about a couple hours in there. If you looked at our thing, you would probably go, "Oh, that looks kind of shitty." Yeah, no, it did because I rushed it and didn't want to spend a lot of time on it. So
the new one looks a lot better, right? The backgrounds of a beer, it's the logo, it's the name. The new one's a lot better. So. But
yeah, it's not, I'm not winning any awards off of it, but it is a lot better because the last one I couldn't even handle. I looked at what that was awful. What was I thinking there? So it's like, anyway.
So here was the thing. It got me thinking about, those are just little items that don't kill you, right? That don't absolutely just kill you. But there's times when people take shortcuts because we've done this 100 times. We can kind of cut that step out. And they'll rush something into production. They'll rush something into, it's happened with me with the apps as well. Where you have a regression that you miss because you're like, "Oh, that thing was working yesterday." Well, you push a new update and it broke something else, right? And because you did do a complete test cycle. Yeah. So it's those type of things. I'm like going, they don't kill you, but they're really embarrassing and they're really frustrating and they cost you time and money.
Yeah.
So I got to thinking about, the company that's been in the news a lot lately is Boeing and that Dreamliner, right? It's the Dreamliner where they knew of flaws. They knew of low quality material and they chose to ignore it, right? So Fast and Flawed connects at even a deeper level there, where maybe on paper you're like, we didn't do that check. Yeah, we just didn't check it. Or it was close to the specs, maybe not exactly. Well, the reason it's a spec is because that's what it's supposed to be to hold the stuff together, right? So it's where you take the shortcuts that can kill your company. And I want to talk about that today.
Yeah. I'm going to, this falls right into line with this. I had my professor during my graduate studies, he was also one of my professors in my undergrad, told a story about being contracted with another designer to design the instructions inside, I don't know if it was Boeing, but it was inside a plane. And it was to design the instruction panel on how to open up the emergency door in the emergency exit row. And when they looked at it and they came back and said, you got to redesign the door. And it was really, because it's like, like they did it wrong. They rushed through it. They did it wrong. And they're like, no, this isn't going to work. Like, you can't write, the instructions will be way too complicated. You'll end up costing people's lives potentially. Redesign the door. And then they could contribute on how you redesign the door a bit so that it's like simple and fast. And then it's, you've probably seen them on planes just like this, and off you go. Right. And so you can imagine how costly that was. And they tried to cover up a mistake with, let's just hire some designers to make a pretty little drawing that can explain how to use this thing that the engineers made that is not usable. Cost an awful lot of money. Now, I will say the challenge though, because we deal with this every single day, like it's amazing how many times in the last year or two we've changed our philosophy and do it right, not fast. And I know I've said this on the show before, do it right, not fast. It comes really back from the old adage, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. A little bit like that sort of idea, right? The challenge is on the flip side, going slow can kill you, because that's what leads to vaporware. That's what leads to never releasing. It leads to so many problems. So there's this balancing act, and it's always a challenge, in startup world, fail fast, fail fast, fail fast. MVP. If you're not embarrassed by your first product, you're not doing it right. Like, there's all of these adages, right? So there's this constant evaluation of where are you going to spend too much time, and that's going to cost you, versus you do it too fast and it costs you in the end. Just like every traffic designer in Edmonton, I'm calling you guys out because I see like frick this intersection down by us here. It's like, nah, you're going to redo it with $1 billion or whatever because you rushed and didn't do it right the first time.
All right, so is that today's Blaine shit list segment? Is that what you just did, or is that something new? Huh?
Blaine's shit list today. It's funny because I couldn't even think of one, and I'm just gonna tweak it a bit. It's either going to be, is it the shit list or the hit list? That's because sometimes I have a hit list and I'm really happy with something. The shit list today is, there are some intersections in Edmonton I'm pretty sure I could have designed in a sandbox better. Like, guys, have you heard of a cloverleaf? And now they're redoing a bunch of these intersections. So the city of Edmonton, yeah, they're often on my shit list, but specifically for their traffic design today. So, and if you live in Edmonton, you all know, you're all laughing right now because it's like, yeah, what are they doing?
So you know how you just coughed right there in the middle of that sentence? That's how you could say it. You could say the hit list. so it could be either one. It could be the hit list.
Either or. The hit list.
There you go.
So there we go. So, that's my new segment. So I'm glad, because I was thinking before, I'm like, I wonder if Mike's going to want me to do the new shit list segment. And I haven't got anything, and then it led right into it.
Yeah, so that's how it is. Well, because we've had episodes on that, like, all you got to do is not think about it, and it pops in your head.
Right? Exactly. That's how we do every episode all the time. Don't think about it. It'll just pop in your head.
Right. Hey, you was talking about going slow, and it's cost to companies, right? Going slow meaning not taking action or waiting it out. Yeah. Like, I'm going to ride this out and see what it is because I don't believe what I'm seeing. Well, I've mentioned these two companies on the show before. Kodak is one, BlackBerry is the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Them waiting too long, not like BlackBerry not responding to Apple's smartphone. Saying, no, people want these keys. They're going to want this key. They're going to want that touch. And then Apple, what they do, they had that little bit of vibration on the key and it was over, just done, right? So, they didn't want to convert to a smartphone screen. The other thing was Kodak. I don't know how many times I've told the story about how they looked at the digital camera and said, no, that's dumb, right? People aren't going to want to, they don't even know where those go, right? Those pictures go. They want to put them in albums. They want to put them in slide decks. They want to, show the neighbors about their vacation. That's the one thing everybody wants to save in a fire is their photos. They're never going to do that. They missed and missed and missed. And by the time they tried to get in the game, it was too late. Everybody else had dominated the market.
And the sad part, for every single one that was too late, there's one that was too early. So we're talking, like, when you're talking the speed, that there's also too soon to market, too late to market. You're also, but then all the way down to, like you said, like the swatty mosquitoes every week. Like I've heard a business advisor talk about that one time, swatty mosquitoes. And his philosophy was more people are killed by mosquitoes than sharks. Make sure you swat all the little things all week. It's not the big one that'll kill you. It's this pile up of these little things, right? But that's the challenge is, and I know this week we're talking about going too fast and rushing through. And so I just want to give that lip service to the other side is it's not just, we're not just saying just do everything slow and steady and do it right. Like there is a place for that, but businesses die every day from going too slow as well. So it's you have to be able to make that judgment call. But when you make that judgment call that it's important, it's just got to be done right. Just do it right. Do it right the first time.
One of the things I've put in when I build something custom or I'm building something new, like I'm putting on a new class at Trinity this semester, right? I don't know why I keep volunteering for these things. That's a tremendous amount of work to create a college course. But I've noticed that if I just slow it down a little bit, remember my dean said, or not dean, the director of the department said, all you have to do is be one day ahead of the students. Like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But it's also allowed me. Yeah, right. But it's also allowed me to check in more frequently with her because she's more aware of the curriculum she's designing for the minor degree. It has to blend, and she don't want a lot of redundancy. She don't want a lot of overage or overlap between courses and those type of things where you get something new out of each course. Well, that's what I'm doing now, that frequent check-in. So I started doing that with even clients like, hey, am I off base? Am I on the right track? So I don't build out 75 pages of something and realize that it's in the way wrong direction. I'm 180 degrees off of what they expected. So I'll do a little bit more frequent check-in now and go, are we on the right track? How about this? Here's where I'm at now. And that has saved me, I don't know how much time and effort and frustration over the last, 10 years.
It's getting into, it's almost like getting into the zone. Like, there's this one part where it's like, you're not pushing too far ahead. You're not moving, like too fast, but you're on the other side. You're like, okay, I'm going to admit something here. The first course I ever taught was, and this led into me teaching a bunch of courses. I actually ended up running a little department over at a college, and I taught at the University of Alberta. But the very first course I taught, I just had a friend of mine, they needed a Flash instructor. And I think what happened was somebody dropped out last minute. This is going back 20 some years. So I'm trying to remember. Flash isn't even a thing anymore. Can you come in and teach this Flash course? Well, I don't know Flash. Can you figure it out? Because I just need someone. Yeah, okay. So talking about being like, a class or whatever ahead, I read like, literally it was like Friday night and I'm teaching Saturday morning for the weekend course. Right. And I was reading and I'm like, okay, I got enough. And then I went in and I stood up there and I'm like, okay, what we're going to do? This is Flash. I'm like, And what I need you to start doing is I need you to do, and here's what you're going to do. And got them working. And I'm like, okay, while you guys are working on that, I'll just be up here. And I was literally flipping through the book, reading the next section, closing it, standing up and saying, well, now what we're going to do. And I was literally minutes ahead. And then Saturday night, I was like trying to get ready for Sunday. And then I started off good. And then I'm like, just like one, like minutes ahead. Wow. And it worked. It actually I somehow made it through this course. And then, I kind of enjoyed teaching. So I ended up doing a bunch of teaching after that. And that was the only time it was that ridiculously last minute, but.
Well, dude, so if you're an accountant, a bookkeeper, a fractional CFO, and you don't want to look dumb in front of your clients, right? You want to be well prepared. You want to know what you're talking about. You want to maximize cash in their business. Go to cashflowmike.com. Check out my packages. I've got a course called The Clear Path to Cash, which is 8 steps in maximizing cash in any business. And I can teach you how to find hidden cash in 15 minutes or less. I can teach you how to read a cash flow statement in 15 seconds or less. So if you're interested in any of that, if you want to learn more about how to run a business and put more cash in your pocket and build transferable value, come see me at cashflowmike.com today.
And there are more businesses out there struggling with cash flow right now. If you are a fractional CFO, CPA, chuck a rock, you're going to hit a business that needs a hand with this. There's a CFO I talked with earlier this week, and he said to me, he said, if you're a business owner and you're not awake at night thinking about cash, if you don't, if they say you're not thinking about cash, you're lying, because he's talking with so many businesses that is top of mind. So, lots of opportunity to help, and Mike can get you all set up to do that.
Dude, that was pretty slick.
Yeah, nice little segue.
That was pretty good. That was very slick. So, all right, but so here's the thing. I mean, let's talk like tips, tricks, and traps. But before that, there's some companies that do it pretty well, though. I mean, that do this fast, but I won't even say it's flawed. I think it's fast and pretty good. Like, how do you release a brand new iPhone that everybody wants every year? There's a new version that comes out every single year in September. Boom, it drops. Just like crazy. Just like a drop. I'm like going, how far do you think they are ahead in planning? Are they 3 years? Do you think they're 3 years ahead of us?
I would say at least that. But what I will say is, how do they do it? Like 1,000 of the top engineers on the planet. I'll kind of say the opposite. Every once in a while, I'll say to the team, I'm like, yeah, we have like way fewer bugs than Apple, and they get like 1 billion, as many engineers as they want, and they still have bugs and sometimes stupid things that happen, even though they have really good quality control.
Yeah. Every software has bugs.
Always.
Yeah. Dude, I found a spelling error in mine and I've been working in this app for 1.5 years. I'm like, how the fuck do I misspell liabilities and miss it? Like, I'm looking at it every day and I miss it and it wasn't even me that found it. It was somebody else says, hey, I think you misspelled liabilities. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had that a million times. You read the sentence, but you're just, know it. And so you read past stuff, it's there. Your mind just blocks it out. And then someone else will look at it and go, yeah, you misspelled your name. Like whatever it is, like it can be really obvious and you can just skip right over it. It's so easy to do. So easy to do.
Well, especially in an app where it's just text, right? Because that's just really a copy and paste into the code and then just go. Text changes are super simple, so I don't spend a lot of time in it. I'm sitting there doing math calculations to make sure that we have it right. I get the same thing on a calculator that they get on the in the code. Yeah, and I miss the spelling error.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah,
but Apple, you're right. They got 1,000 different people working on these things. I still, even though it looks like, they just made one, they dropped one the next September. They're on such a production schedule that is crazy, and it has to drive revenue. But I would love to see how far out they're working on. I bet there's a team working on 17 or 18 right now, or whatever it is. Or
easily,
even farther out.
Even further out. And I'm I like Apple. I'm Apple shit everywhere around me, in my pocket, like beside me. Like I've got all the Apple stuff, except for the watch. I got to tell you, I have an Apple Watch. I put it on last weekend. I haven't worn it in months. I put it on to go for a bike ride, and I sometimes wear that in case I fall off my bike and smash it, which doesn't generally happen, but I suppose it could. And I was swearing at it by the end of the ride, and I took it off, and I'm like, I can't wear this thing because I look at it, I want to see the time, and I can't see the time because it's telling me you're on a bike ride. Do you want to record your bike ride? No, I know where I'm riding. It's over here. Like, get lost. It's like poking me. It's like bugging me all the time. Like, screw off. I'm bitching about the, the Apple Watch, but it actually is really good. Like I know they're really good, but that's the one thing that's not my thing. But where I will say that I was more impressed early on with their innovation, because it's like the new iPhone, the best iPhone we've ever made, the fastest iPhone is 0.1 millimeters thinner, and the battery life is 14 seconds longer a day. It's the same phone. It literally is like you just advanced. Like, so part of it is really, are they doing anything super special every year? Because at one time it felt like they're doing a lot, and now it feels like, yeah, they just changed color. Like, they didn't really do much. I could go 5 iPhones and then get a new one and go, yeah, it's a little different, slightly better.
I would tend to agree. It feels that way, but I bet there's something that they're building foundationally in that each time and testing out. I bet there's something that's going to make it infinitely faster, infinitely better, or the screen, blah, blah, blah. There's something foundationally that they test in every single version that comes out that we don't think is that big a deal. I don't care if it's just the screen, the materials of the screen, or if it's the sensitivity of the screen. I mean, there's things that they test that they probably hide in the notes somewhere that we would like, oh yeah, screen. But it's probably going to be super important for 5th or 6th year down the line. I'm telling you, I know how you would have to build these things in, and that's what happens a lot of times. It's not just sometimes you build things concurrently. Like if I build multiple features at once, I can combine them at the end and really shorten the time it takes me from idea to production.
So here's a question I have with this, because it sort of leads into it here. How much does speed, like, so let's say there's a competitive product that kind of sucks compared to like a leading product. How much of it is because of speed, that they were doing things fast and they were trying to get things to market and try and keep up? It's almost like F1 teams are trying to keep up with, well, today it's Red Bull, last few years ago it was Mercedes. How much of it is speed and they're rushing through to try and keep up, or to, usually it's to keep up if they're in that position. How much of it is just a lack of attention to detail, or just a lack of give a shit? So if you have a strong culture in your business of, we want to make the best, is it about taking time, or is it more than that? Is there a philosophy involved? So it's not just do things slow. Well, no, do things right, and if it takes more time, it might be slower.
I'm gonna ask you to say that differently.
What's that?
I'm gonna ask you to say that differently. I think where I was going with it was instead of concurrently, sometimes it happens sequentially, and that's what you're talking about, is the slowing down of the process, because there's some other things that I think either have to evolve, or maybe there's a technology that doesn't exist yet, but they feel like it's on the verge to really make a gigantic leap. So they're going to build all the pieces around it and then plug that hole as soon as it's ready. But that's purposeful slowing it down. I mean, go ahead.
Okay, but I think what I'm saying is that I'm not sure they're slowing things down on purpose. It's what's happening. And this is, I think, an important distinction. It's not just about going slow versus going fast. You're going slower because you're doing it right. You're going slower because you have this attention to quality, the attention to detail. You're checking off, dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. Like it's not going slow I guess what I'm saying, it's not going slow for the sake of going slow. You're still trying to go as fast as you freaking can, but it's going to take longer because of that attention to quality, attention to detail, and making sure that you have the right outcome at the end, rather than cutting corners. And so that's what I was talking about sometimes with businesses that you see that are competitors to these leaders. I'm wondering if they're sometimes cutting corners to try and go faster, or are they going as slow, but they're cutting corners because they're not focused on quality. They're not focused on that outcome enough.
Well, I'm going to say Toyota's probably a good example of what you're talking about. Meaning that they practice that Kaizen, right? Continuous improvement, where it's like a slow, I mean, it's taken maybe 2 decades, but from what a Toyota was in, we'll say, the 80s, early 90s to what a Toyota is today, their production process is leaps and bounds ahead of any other auto manufacturer in America, right? And I'm saying in America because Toyota's like Texas and Tennessee, right? So it's one of those things where this continual movement towards, I'll call it perfection, if anything else, is a slow grinding process, because you want the next step to be a move forward, not a move back, right? Like, oh, we screwed that up, right? So it's just like a slow tick forward. Patagonia, believe it or not, and I'm not a fan of Patagonia. I don't have any of their clothes. I guess I'll say that. Not like Apple, where I got all kinds of Apple stuff. But they have taken the approach to environment and sustainability that is a slow, steady approach, and that has been their brand. Has been connected to their reputation forever, and they have not deviated from it. And every product that they bring in has to match that brand category. Yeah. If it doesn't hit, then they don't bring you in, right? So it's one of those things where that's a slow evolution. How did they get there? They might have started off that way as ideal, but you can't build a business, that allows for that time to take place. You have to do other things until you can get to a point where you can be perfect. Yeah,
in one area. I will say that's a very interesting sort of another side that how many areas do you have to be good at to excel? And are there areas that you're rushing through? Are there areas that aren't getting the attention that they deserve? Because there's very few, I don't know if there are any, but there's very few products or companies out there that don't have a gap. So it's like, yeah, their quality is great, but man, their clothes or their cars look like ass. Or their cars look amazing and they'll break down a block down the road or whatever, right? Like how many companies actually put it all together? And so they're just like, but it looks good, it performs good, it sounds good, it's quality, it lasts a long time. Like it always seems like there's a gap there's some gaps in there. And when you're starting to look at some of the biggest brands in the world, you're kind of thinking, have you not noticed, Toyota, that you have a big gap right here? And if some of your cars didn't look like it, I'm not talking specifically about Toyota, but like kind of, but could they look a lot nicer? Because boy, you've nailed the quality side. You've nailed that part down. This part, not so much. And then there's the brand over here where it's like, oh, they're gorgeous, but my God, I would never spend a dime on them because I know they would break down in like the first 10 miles.
See, that's what happened with me and Fieros.
Fiero, oh, that's a beauty. That is a beauty.
Dude, loved it, man. When I was early 80s or late 80s, early 90s, Pontiac Fiero was the killer car out there. It was just perfect, right? You just hope you didn't catch fire.
Yeah, they had a little Pinto in them, I think, right there. So
yeah, Yeah, that's how you're just like, well, it's like a lottery every day.
Yeah,
Russian roulette. Yeah.
yeah,
Pontiac roulette. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But that's funny because it was like they executed on like several checks and like, oh, it looked cool. And it's like, except for they kind of missed it here. Like, also it was slow. It was also really slow. Like it looked cool, but my God, like, for a car looking that cool, it's got to go faster than that, man. Like it's got to struggle.
It was fun to ride around in. I didn't own one. A friend of mine did, but it was fun to ride around in. We thought we were the coolest things. At 19 years old, you're like riding around in Fiero. It was pretty badass. So, so we were talking about Apple and the minute changes that have happened over the last couple of releases, and it just hit me. I'm like going, oh shit, I forgot about this. I think there was a big, huge distraction at those companies. And you can see the results of it today, of what's happening. But Google, Microsoft, Apple, we didn't see big leaps and bounds for 3 years because AI hit the scene about 3 years ago, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with it. And I think they diverted a bunch of resources from new production, new features and new ideas to, we better figure out what AI is going to do and what we can do with it, or somebody else is going to. So I think there was the disruption is AI in all of these companies where we're not seeing the big leaps and bounds.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And at some point, maybe that will come to fruition because of AI, that you'll see that those big leaps and bounds. And I'm still not sure that it's going to be, I think it's going to be an amazing tool. It already is an amazing tool. I don't think they're going to be our overlords anytime soon. But I think there's some capability there, and but we have to see how these businesses actually roll it out. And it is interesting because Apple was pegged as being way further behind. But then they came out with what I think is a very brilliant move, because it's all wrapped around privacy and owning your own data. And you know what? More and more you look at it and go, do I really want to ask this question? Do I want all my information out in the world? Will this bot know everything and share it with other people? Like there's a lot of concerns there. And I think that was a really astute move to say, like, let's nail this privacy thing down first, and then we'll go from there, because it's a concern, right? Like there could be some big gaps there.
Yeah. So the AI, now that we're talking about this going fast, AI is going to make you or allow you to go a lot faster. Think about just if you are Apple, maybe if you're just dry run and you got ways to collect this data about customer service calls, right?
Yep.
And you got AI that transcribes every single call that comes through there, and you figure out the exact thing that's pissing people off. You didn't have to dissect all those calls. You didn't have to have all those customer interviews. AI says, oh, if you fix the Fiddle Hopper,
because if you keep sticking to your knitting, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So if you fix that, then you'll have an X% increase in customer satisfaction. That's where this big data analytics is going to point to the exact or the biggest impact and problem is going to help out companies immensely and move things faster than ever.
And I guess the flip side is, does it help you go faster, or does it allow you to go slower? Because you can kind of go, okay, we don't have to be running, we don't have to be sprinting over there. That stuff's taken care of. We got time. Let's sit down and figure this out. So I think it's going to be both. Like there's, if you harness it right, but I think there's also the danger of, do you let things? It's like the runaway snowball rolling down the hill, potentially with AI. Do you let things go and you're just like, oh, this is great. We're going to, and you start chasing and you start going too fast, because we've seen already that AI is not infallible. Like it'll say stupid shit all the time. It'll give you just outright wrong answers all the time. And even when it gets better and better, it might be giving you technically a right answer, but is it the answer you need? Is it the context you need? Are you asking the right question, right?
Yeah, so it's funny you said saying stupid shit. All right, so this T-shirt just came in the mail yesterday, right? A month ago, the Baylor football coach, right? I'm getting all hyped up about like college football right now. The Baylor football coach was asked, they go, man, you're killing it on recruiting. This is going to be the best recruiting you've ever done, right? It's the absolute best. He's lining up 4 stars. I mean, people that we normally never get as players.
Mm-hmm.
They go, what are you doing different? You know, what's different about the way you're recruiting? And he says, yeah, we're paying players. Because the NIL and all that goes, we just figured out a way to pay players. And
nice.
Because that's where it is. I mean, you can say that now. If you said that, 10 years ago, you're banned from the NCAA for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
That week, the coaches, his assistant coaches, came out on the field with a shirt that says "We pay players," and guess what I just got?
Nice.
Nice. Hey, capitalism at its best, right? It's like, oh, hey, you want to come play for us? We pay players.
Yeah.
But
interesting sort of thing. But I'm going to flip it to another side here because we've seen this, and I'm talking from a hockey concept. The Oilers are the best off season, and then blah blah blah. And when you're talking about getting the best players and everything, the thing that always still comes back and kind of rings in my head is you might want to watch them play first because everybody's a superstar in the offseason. Everybody's the best signing in the offseason. Everybody's going to be a game changer in the offseason. You really don't know until you see how players perform. And I'm just sort of talking from I'm bringing this up because it's got a direct relation to business too. Is like, how many times have we done that? This is going to be amazing. You got to play the game, and then you got to see what the numbers are first, right? You got like data. You don't get data from beforehand. You get it from actual reps, right? So it's just something I wanted to bring up. So because too many times I've been disappointed with these big signings and stuff, right?
The amount of money people are being paid right now is just craziness. It's just craziness, and to be upset about some of it, like going, I don't want 75 million. I want 100 million. I'm like going, dude, 75 is pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty good, yeah, especially in an industry where all it takes is anything for people to get mad and go, man, I'm not going anymore. You raise the tickets too much. I mean, that's such a fragile industry to me. I think any of the sports teams, like all you got to do is just like going, I can't afford food, so I'm not going to a hockey game. I got to pay rent, so I'm not going to a hockey game.
And you know how sort of fickle that is when you look at like, how many people watched the Olympics in the last few weeks? Now, I got to admit, not me included. We didn't really watch it. We saw a few clips on YouTube. But anyway, but some people like watch it. And you see the fastest people in the world, just as an example, and you're saying, man, if that guy tucked a football under his arm, he'd probably make 100 times more a year just for literally carrying a football, go, or running to first base, go. And I just found it interesting that it just depends what sport you pick. Some are just really well paid and maybe some not quite as much, right?
All right. So here's what I relearned or remembered today from this episode, which is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Is that right? That's that right?
It's a catchy little line.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. So if you want to go
smooth is fast. Yeah. So sorry, what wasn't? Oh, that's why.
So if you want to be smooth and you want to do things fast, then binge all of our episodes, just like Brett and Cole do out in Washington. Just turn them on, let them go, laugh, comment, get involved, tell us what you want to hear, because We actually love doing this, so we want to hear from you.
Yeah, and make sure you go to our website, mikeandblaine.com. Make sure you like, you follow, you subscribe. Make sure you don't miss any of our episodes. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And if you want to buy us a beer, mikeandblaine.com, $5, and we'll mention you. And like our beer sponsors now, they bought through the end of the year. So you can always do that too.
There you go. Hey, another one in the books, 155. Next week, 156.
All right, see you next week.
Check out their website at mikeandblaine.com. Then subscribe to the podcast and buy these guys a beer.